Hello, my name is Nathan Bass, and this is my informative speech. I'm doing my speech about one of my hobbies, which is bowling, and I'm going to demonstrate the correct way to curve a bowling ball. I've been bowling for almost 8 years now, and I've learned different methods and different ways to approach this, and it's great because there's a lot of variability in it. Once you understand the basics of it, you can kind of go wherever you want with it. And there's some people who use just one hand, and you might even see people use two hands in bowling. And so the first step is when you have a bowling ball, normally your fingers would go all the way into the ball. However, if you get one specifically for curving, it has these inserts here that only allow your finger to go in up to your first knuckle or just past it. So then you're holding the ball a lot more with the tips of your fingers, which will allow you to curve it easier because there's less space for them to come out. So the first thing you do when you learn to curve is after you hold the ball, most people hold it this way using their middle finger and their ring finger to hold it. You can sometimes see people use their pinky and their ring finger or even their index in the middle. However, it's by far most common to do it this way. And one of the most important things is to try and keep your wrist as straight as possible. A lot of times when you see people go, they'll be flailing their wrist around when they release the ball or drop it or whatever. But if you're trying to curve the ball or bowl professionally, that's really bad because then you lose a lot of your control over it. And the third part of it is the actual release of the ball. And when you go, most people, they'll swing back and they'll come down and they'll just drop it somewhere in here. However, when you're trying to curve the ball or get it to hook, you want to try and release as close to the bottom of your swing as possible, because then you're not launching the ball or throwing it into the ground. And when you release the ball, the way you get the curve is, of course, you turn it, but there's a right and a wrong way to do this. If you try and curve it too early, you're going to end up spinning it like this, so it'll just spin like a top, and you won't get any sort of reaction that you want out of it. What you want to do is, when you come down, your thumb will start to come out, and then you bring your hand up around the edge of the ball, and you'll get it spinning down the lane. And it's like many other sports when you're doing something, you want to follow through even after the ball's out of your hand, so you get into a good habit. A common thing people will do is they'll do what they'll call like answering your phone, because what you'll do is you'll come down and you'll turn your hand to get it to spin, and you come up like you're talking on a phone. The second part is figuring out your aim with a bowling ball. If you've ever been bowling, which I'm sure almost everybody has, there are these dots or arrows out on the lane that we call our marks. There's one directly in the middle, and then they come out along the sides, usually in groups of 3 or 4 of them. And this, along with wherever you're standing and relative to the middle of the lane, will help you aim. Most people, when you curve the ball, clearly don't want to aim right at the middle, otherwise you'll curve and hit the gutters, and that's not really what you want. So most people have to work around with it. It'll depend a lot on what kind of ball you have or how you throw, because some people get what they call a really aggressive cook or aggressive curve out of the ball. So they'll want to stand all the way to one side and throw basically at the gutter, and it'll come back and go where they want it to. And the final part of getting a good curve on your bowling is how you approach the lane. Many people will take anywhere from 2 to 5 steps when they approach. The most common is taking 4. And you'll want to start with whichever foot is the same as whichever hand you bowl. So if you're right-handed, you'll start right foot, and if you're left-handed, you'll start left foot. And you do this because at the end, you want to have the opposite foot of your bowling hand be the one closest to the lane. And you do this for a couple of reasons. The first one is so you don't smack your side with the ball as you come down, because if you're standing dominant foot forward, you're putting a lot of weight there, so your body's going to want to move that way, and you'll end up hitting yourself. And the other reason goes along with that, it's for balance, because if you have this foot as your balance and you're swinging this way, you're going to really put yourself off balance this way, and you could fall and get hurt really easily. So to avoid that, we end on our other foot. Usually, you try and walk in as straight of a line as possible to keep your aim constant with where you're going. And it's the combination of all these factors that allow you to hook a bowling ball. It's not something someone can just pick up and do in one go. It takes a lot of practice to consistently have the right approach, the right handhold, the right release. So it takes a lot of practice to do properly. Many people work on it for years and still don't perfect it. But the great thing about it is once you understand the basics, you can do it whatever way you want, which is why you'll see a bunch of varieties of bowling, such as people standing all the way to one side and then getting this massive curve on it, or people that'll stand closer to the middle and get just a little curve. And everyone can do the same in the end. It's just all up to you how you want to do it. So, in conclusion, bowling's a great hobby to do. It doesn't have to be taken super seriously. It's something you can go out and do on your own. So, learning how to curve a bowling ball is a fun thing to do in your pastime, and it's something I've enjoyed learning over these past 6, 7 years.